Attention S&P artists, are you looking to take your business to the next level? It's time to fully systemize your studio for growth with the ultimate sales and marketing platform for S&P artists, Highlead. With Highlead, you get everything that you need to save time and effortlessly generate more consultations and bookings on autopilot. And guess what? Highlead is not just a system, but also one of the largest Google ad agencies in the world for S&P professionals. Imagine having a marketing strategy that's tailor-made for the S&P industry, driving high-quality leads right to your studio. Say goodbye to the struggle of finding the latest marketing trend. Highlead has you covered. Invested into your training? Check. Invested into your equipment and studio setup? Check. Now it's time to invest into your marketing strategy. Don't risk your marketing budget on anything else until you've experienced Highlead's growth system and Google Ads services. Don't pass on this special opportunity for listeners of the Scalp Solutions Podcast. Visit gohighlead.com today to book a free demo now and join the hundreds of S&P artists who've embraced Highlead to thrive in their businesses. On the free no-obligation demo call, a member of Highlead's team will answer all of your questions and help you unlock the potential of your S&P studio by getting you more bookings. Visit gohighlead.com today.
Ever wonder what keeps me focused and energized during long S&P sessions and Scalp Solutions podcast? It's Wava Water. Wava isn't just water. It's a whole new experience. It combines lightly caffeinated sparkling water with binaural beats of sound frequencies and music. Together, they help boost creativity, productivity, and focus. And here's the best part. It's as refreshing as it is delicious. So whether you're creating that perfect hairline for a client or tuning in to elevate your S&P game with the Scalp Solutions podcast, Wobble Water keeps you refreshed and ready to perform at your best. Because great work starts with great tools and great hydration. Wobble Water. Refresh your focus, boost your confidence. Find out more at wobblewater.com.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Scalp Solutions Podcast. I am your host, David Santiago, and today I'm excited to bring back a familiar face, or should I say a familiar voice, to the show. We got Mr. Nicholas Scalice here from Highlead. This is going to be our third time that we're sitting down together, and if you caught our last episode, you know that we dove deep into the world of Google Ads. But this time, we're going to be taking it up a notch. This time I made a phone call and I was like, Nick, you know what, man? We were very surface level with the last one. I had S&P artists reaching out and it was like, you know, all these, Dave, you bring these marketing companies on, all these marketing companies, they just put out a lot of good stuff, but we want a little bit more value. And I know that the people in Highlead are good people. And as soon as I made that phone call, Nick and Chris was like, let's make it happen. Let's not make it happen next month, Dave. Let's make it happen next week. And here we are. So this time, like I said, we're going to be taking it up a notch, right? We're going to be focusing directly on actionable strategies and insights that are going to help S&P artists, make the most out of their ad budgets, right? So Nick is here to share more value-packed tips and break down what's working right now in the digital advertising space for S&P artists. So let's get right into it and welcome once again to the show, Nicholas Scalice.
What's up, David? It's so good to be back. Wow, 3 times. This is our 3rd episode. That is an honor. We are such a huge fan of the Scalp Solutions podcast, and we're excited, like you said, to get into the details here and help everyone who's listening or watching improve their marketing, whether you're working with Highlead or not, whether you're doing Google Ads already or you just thought about it and maybe you want to get started. We're going to definitely share some really important tips that you could start using right away.
Outstanding. And we ready. And, you know, I didn't send no questions this time or anything. You guys were like, you know what, let's just go for it. David, hit us with what you got. You kind of getting a reputation in the industry for exposing some things that not a lot of people know. So right. Let's get right into it, Nick. What are some of the unique challenges that S&P artists are facing with Google Ads compared to other industries?
Yeah, that's a great question because with S&P, there are 2 things that really stand out when you think about the buyer behavior or why people make decisions when they're thinking about S&P, or even if they're not thinking about S&P, but they're thinking about something like getting a hair transplant or just improving how they look or how they feel, or they're researching something about their hairline. The first thing is that this is a high ticket investment, right? This is not a cheap service. We're not selling gym memberships. We're not selling something that's low ticket. So whenever you have a high ticket offer, you really have to bring it. You have to make sure that you are giving people as much value as possible because there's a lot of competition and it's more costly. The more high ticket something is and you're trying to promote it, usually the more expensive it is to advertise that service or that product, right? So when we're competing with other competitors, with other S&P companies, or when you're competing, you're going to be spending more. So you have to make sure that you're maximizing every single ad dollar, because it matters that much more, because these are not 50-cent clicks when someone clicks on that ad. These are expensive clicks because it's an expensive service. But again, if you get one lead and it turns into a great client, then obviously it was worth it. So you just have to keep that in mind. So that's the first thing, is that with S&P, one of the challenges is that it is a high ticket service. And the second thing is that the whole process involves a lot of trust. Nobody wants to work with an S&P artist if they don't trust them, if they don't like them, if they haven't seen their work. And that's why whenever we're working with a client, we always try to make trust one of the most important things that we bring to the surface for that client, so that we are showcasing your work in the best light possible. We're showcasing your history. We're showcasing Google reviews, and just helping people understand as quickly as possible that you're the best artist for them, because you're trustworthy. And we want to bring that to the surface as well. So it really comes down to maximizing that ad budget, whatever your ad budget may be, because it's high ticket, and also maximizing the amount of trust that we can put forth in your campaign.
You said 50-cent clicks, man. Those days are way
gone. Yeah. You can still get them. Let's say, people might be saying, oh, I can get 50-cent clicks all day, but those are not going to be high intent clicks in the target audience that you want. Like, anyone can get a click from anywhere, but like, you're just wasting, you might as well just throw money out the window at that point.
Waste of money at that point.
You're not going to get that for these types of leads that we're trying to generate for you.
So what would be some of the key advantages of using Google Ads opposed to all the other advertising platforms that are available for S&P?
This is probably the number one question we get asked all the time. People are enamored by things like Facebook ads, or Meta ads as they're called now, which is the combination of all of Meta's properties, which include Messenger, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp. You can advertise across the board. And so people are they're seeing the sort of the shiny object, which is Meta, or other social media platforms like TikTok. And they're saying, hey, well, there's a lot of people pushing those types of advertising platforms. Why don't we just use that? Why do we have to go with Google Ads? And really what it comes down to is every platform has some intrinsic value. There's always benefits to advertising across the board. But the thing that really stands out with Google Ads, and the reason why we love Google Ads, and we've seen so much success over the last 5 or 6 years working with S&P artists specifically on Google Ads, is that it all comes down to this thing called intent. And what we mean by intent is that if someone is typing into Google that they are looking for an S&P artist, or they want to learn what S&P is, or maybe they have no clue what S&P even means, they don't even know what the word or the acronym is, but they're searching for things like hair transplant, improve my hairline, look better, feel better, things like that, that creates a higher level of intent among that audience. And so when you are going to put your ad right in front of someone, do you want to be in front of someone who's just mindlessly scrolling on their phone and looking at videos and news and the updates from their friend, and then, they sort of see an ad about S&P and they have no clue what it is? Or do you want to be in front of someone who is literally in the moment searching for the problem or the solution that you can help them with? And that's the power of Google Ads, is that you can get in front of people with the actual mindset that they need to be in to make that decision, to take that next step. So Google Ads is the most powerful advertising mechanism in the world for reaching that high intent audience of people who either have that problem and they're aware that they need to do something about their hairline, or something to do with cosmetic hair tattoos, or even if it's not their hairline, but just something related to the services that S&P solves. You can get right in front of them. And that's why we are a strong advocate for Google Ads being the best place to put your advertising dollars if you're an S&P artist.
Do you guys do Facebook ads as well, or are you guys exclusive to the Google Ads because of how effective they are?
Right now, we're exclusive to Google Ads because you don't want to spread yourself too thin. So we view Google Ads as the initial starting point that every S&P artist should invest in when they're ready to advertise, because that, like I said, that's going to be your highest value, highest intent audience. Now, if you have a huge budget and you want to spend some additional money on other platforms, it doesn't hurt to explore Facebook ads, Meta ads, Instagram, and do things like retargeting. So let's say, for instance, someone visits you from that Google ad, but they don't convert, right? They visit your website, they don't end up converting. You could then do what's called pixel them. You can
Yeah.
you can get your pixel to fire, so you put them into a custom audience, and then you could retarget them on other platforms. And that's when you see ads that sort of follow you around on the internet. That's retargeting, basically. You might shop for a pair of shoes, you don't buy those shoes, and then you see those shoes on TikTok and
Everywhere.
Instagram, and it just keeps following you around until you eventually buy it. That's retargeting. So that is useful, but the issue we see is that a lot of newer S&P artists, they want to go all in on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Google, and what ends up happening is they're spending like $1 a day on each of the platforms, and it's not effective. So you really need to build up enough data on one platform first and get some traction, because these platforms learn. The more you're spending, the more you're working in that ad environment, the more that platform's going to learn, so that the ads can get optimized. So we don't want to see S&P artists get spread too thin. So for the vast majority of artists out there, we feel that you can get fantastic results in most cases just by focusing on Google ads. And that's why we focus on Google ads.
What are some of the, actually, before I even go into the next question, because you said something that even took me for a while to notice, and it was that. It's like, how is it that every app, every social media platform I'm now going on, I was just at this, whatever, let's use Bruno Mars. I'm looking at their shoes, and I was like,
Right.
everywhere. And I'm like, how are they doing this? How are they retargeting like this? So when you said Pixel, I know you just dropped a little seed there, guys. We're not really going to get into it right now. You know, maybe the next time we'll get into a little something more like that. But I know for me, when I found out what that was, it was like an aha moment for me.
Yeah, you start noticing it everywhere.
What
Yeah.
I need to be doing if I want to get those kind of results. Okay, so now, what are some of the common mistakes that you're seeing S&P artists make when they're setting up their own Google ad campaigns?
Yeah, so the first one that we see happen all the time is they don't have conversion tracking properly set up, because Google makes it very easy for you to just launch an ad campaign. Google is very good at taking our money. But if you want to actually get results these days, what you have to ensure 100% is that you have what's called conversion tracking in place. And what conversion tracking is, it's a way for you to tell Google, or whatever ad platform you're using, to tell them this person was a good lead. This person ended up filling out a form, or giving me a call, or booking a consultation, or becoming a client, right? You can set up different conversion actions for all of those different stages in the funnel. I'm sure a lot of our listeners have heard the term funnel, which is all the different stages people might go through along that customer journey, from unaware to all the way to being a fantastic client who's going to refer other people. That's the funnel. And what you need to do is you need to make sure you're tracking all of those different points, and you need to do it in a way where you can inform the ad platform through data how that person turned out, if it was a good lead, a bad lead, because that data is then going to feed the advertising algorithm. So for instance, if you get 20 people who click on your ad and 10 of them actually turn into a great lead, you can send data about those 10 people back to Google. And this is anonymized, so it's not like we're giving Google their name and address. We're giving what's called the Google Click ID. It's basically like a parameter of a whole bunch of characters. And that's going to tell Google, hey, these 10 people out of the 20 were the ones that were most valuable for us. And so give us more of those people. And then through all the data that Google has, what it'll do through its algorithm is it'll determine how to send more of those people. And maybe it'll find certain trends like, the people that converted the most are all from this specific zip code, or they all happen to be browsing these specific keywords. So that data is super valuable for optimizing the campaigns. And that's, again, why it goes back to making sure you're spending enough on a single platform where you can generate enough of that data and get enough of those conversion actions so that you can pump it back into Google, so that the algorithm can learn and self-optimize, so that you can lower your cost per click, lower your cost per conversion, and spend more effectively.
Outstanding. You said something about Google has made it incredibly easy for you to just go on and create an ad campaign. And I remember a few weeks ago, I was at a talk. It was like a marketing event, and this guy said something that was a little contradicting, but like when you know, and it's just kind of like, yeah, okay, buddy. Like, and then I come to find out later that he is actually like a worker or like he has some affiliation to Google. So it
Mm.
made sense as to what he said. So he comes out and he goes, look, guys, you guys are out here spending all this money paying, to get these outsourced Google ad campaigns. Google has literally made it easy for you guys to create your own ad campaigns. It has all the information,
Mhm.
everything is there. They want you to utilize this
Right.
resource. So they've created all the so there was a couple of people that were like sitting around me that knew better, and they kind of looked and it was like, this guy's got to be
Yeah.
affiliated with Google because, yes, that information does exist. It is very simple to just create a campaign and just launch it out there, but
Mhm.
it's not simple at all to create a successful campaign.
Successful. That's the key. Yeah.
No, and that's what you want. Like, no one
Right.
wants to just like, okay, well, I can just throw it out there. Now I got a Google ad campaign. I'm
Yeah.
up.
It doesn't work like that. Yeah.
Oh, you don't
But it
want
happens all the time, and we see it
all
happen
the
all the
time.
time. And then the sad part is S&P artists end up giving up on the whole idea of Google Ads or the whole idea of marketing because maybe they tried it on their own. It didn't work. So now I've heard this so many times when we get on calls with prospects where someone will say, "Ah, yeah, I've tried that. It doesn't work. I just wasted $1,000 and it's not for me." And it had nothing to do with the platform. It had everything to do with the setup, how it was managed, and the other thing is to go back to your question about the mistakes. It's not just conversion tracking. That was just the first one. It also goes down to things like making sure you're mitigating fraud that's happening. There's so much fraud now with pay per click. Your competitors might even be clicking on
Coming
your
in,
ads.
just clicking
Yeah,
on it to waste your money.
yeah. So we have tools in place where we try to mitigate that. We use a tool called ClickCease to try to eliminate as much fraud as possible and to detect the fraud and block it. And the other huge thing is making sure you have an optimized landing page because running an ad campaign is great. But if you are sending those ads, all those clicks to a page that is not optimized, again, you're probably just wasting money because those people are going to go to a page that is not optimized to get them to take that next step, fill out a form, call that number, take a quiz, take that next step forward in the funnel. And then in that case, all you're doing is paying for clicks, but you're not paying for actual leads. So that's another issue that we see happen all the time.
Can you elaborate on what exactly is, because we got into an optimized landing page? What is the difference between a generic landing page and an optimized landing page?
Yeah, and I'll even take it a step back and compare a landing page to your website, right? Because most people are not familiar with the term landing page, which is it's sort of a marketing little, buzzword at the moment, but a lot of people don't know what it is, which is fine. Your website is the place where everyone is going to come to find whatever they need about your business. They're going to see your reviews, they can contact you, maybe you have a blog, you have links to social media, maybe you have pricing, FAQs, it's everything. But that can be overwhelming to a visitor who might be coming from an ad that says, "Stop! Don't get a hair transplant. Learn about cosmetic hair tattoos." Right, and that's all they know. They know that they're interested in something to do with a hair transplant, for instance. And your job is to convince them or educate them of what S&P is. So if you were to send someone like that to your homepage that just talks about S&P and has all these different links and things to click on, it's going to overwhelm them, and you're probably going to end up losing that visitor without any type of value. You're not going to convert them. So instead, what we advocate is creating what are called highly optimized conversion focused landing pages, where if someone is coming from an ad with a specific keyword that they were searching for, they're going to see that same keyword or phrase on the landing page. So if they're searching for something to do with S&P, they'll see S&P on the landing page. Or if they're searching for something about hair transplant, maybe they'll see something like, "This is a great alternative to hair transplants," right? They're going to see it on the landing page. So it's optimized to whatever they're searching for. And it's also very simple. We exclude all of the unnecessary stuff. You don't need to have your social media links on a landing page because we don't want people clicking on that. We want them filling out a form to maybe get a pricing guide or an FAQ guide or a brochure, or they're booking a consultation. We want to keep it focused on what it is that next immediate action is that we want them to take. So a landing page is basically something that is optimized for that specific ad campaign, and it removes all of the other stuff that's not needed.
We're gonna have to change the subject of this podcast to a Google Ads masterclass because I'm
There's a lot. It
I'm
can get
hoping
pretty
that
deep. Yeah.
I'm hoping that I'm gonna retain this, but then I'm remembering at the same time, like I have access to the file. I can replay this
Right.
over and over. But this is good. This is exactly where I wanted to go with this interview, Nick. So I really appreciate that, man. So
Absolutely.
I want to get you into another one that I know is gonna bring up a whole bunch. It's kind of like that tree stump, and then it just spreads all out. Can you share what are some high level what are can you share a high level overview of the main components of a successful Google Ads strategy?
Yeah, so I think one thing that we've seen work really well, and this goes all the way back to the early days of when we originally launched with Highlead, is the word free really draws people in. How many times have you been to a website where there's this complicated form and it's like get more information and it's very vague and maybe the button says submit and we'll get back to you, or it says subscribe for updates. It's very vague and it doesn't feel like you're clear on what's going to happen when I fill out that form. That approach doesn't work. What we've seen work for SMP artists specifically is create an offer on your landing page that is centered around giving something for free to the visitor so that you're giving them value. And something we've seen work really well is a free guide of some sort, whether it is a pricing guide, and that works very well. But I know there are some artists who absolutely do not want to give any type of pricing information before they meet with that prospect, which is understandable. That's a whole nother debate that we can have. But whatever you end up doing, you can give something for free that is basically a high value asset, or what we would call a lead magnet. And this is usually a downloadable PDF that they would have to put in their email address, put in some contact information, and they would get access to this. So a free pricing guide, a free brochure, or maybe you want to combine offers and you want to do maybe $500 off plus a pricing guide. But whatever it is that you do, don't just have a form on your landing page or on your website that just says, fill this out for more information. Think about how you can leverage the word free and the appeal that that has for people, and try to create a highly coveted resource that people can download in exchange for their contact information. And then you're getting them into your pipeline. And they're opting in. So it's a win-win for them. They're getting value. You're getting the opportunity to follow up with people. And that way you're capturing that lead rather than just letting them slip away.
Yeah, man. Free is one of those, like you said, and even with the including the guide is one of those, when it comes to the pricing, putting it out there, or even using the word free, that within the industry is kind of one of those, like 50-50 things. But it's good to hear someone else advocating on how you could leverage that word, because I'm a huge advocate for free, whether it be sometimes if you need to do the procedure, but just having something out there so that you can, give out to get whatever information it is that you need.
Exactly. Yeah.
This next question right here is also another one that I know maybe when Chris hears this, he's going to be like, holy shit, but how do you determine the right keywords to target for S&P ads?
Oh,
That is...
everybody wants to know that, right?
That is like, it's the 11th commandment. It doesn't exist. No one wants, but it exists, but it's not there for us.
Right. So how do you determine the right keywords? And for anyone who's not familiar with like that phrase, keywords or key phrases, those are the things that people are searching for when they are searching on Google, which goes back to that discussion we had about levels of intent. So the first step is understanding what are people searching for and sort of categorizing it in different buckets or different categories. In marketing, there's a really good strategy called the stages or the levels of awareness. And it basically says that when someone is making a buying decision or they're going through that journey, they're going to start by being unaware. Then they become problem aware. So they have a sense that they have a problem. So unaware would be, I don't even have any issue with my hairline. I'm not even thinking about it. Problem aware is, okay, now I'm starting to think I might have an issue with my hairline, but I don't know what to do. The next one is solution aware. So now they're thinking, well, I have a problem with my hairline. I know there are some solutions out there, and I'm going to start exploring some of them. Hair transplant, wearing a hat, shaving your head, getting SMP treatment. Now you're solution aware. Then you get even deeper and you can become product aware. And so when you think about being product aware, think of your service as being a product. If you're an S&P artist, you're offering the product of micropigmentation. There's also most aware. That's the last stage in that funnel, where you are literally just trying to determine, should I go with this artist or that one? Should I go with, you figured out what product you want. Now it's just a matter of picking which provider. So those stages, I wanted to elaborate on that because that helps us figure out the different categories of keywords that we have to build out for your campaign. So we're going to build out all different keyword lists and key phrase lists based on those different stages. And then we're going to start testing and seeing what works. And the beauty of all this is that we've now done this for so long, we are not starting from scratch anymore. So we have 6 years of industry-specific keyword data for the S&P industry. In our opinion, this is more keyword data than any other Google Ads professional that is working specifically in the S&P industry, because we've spent over $1 million of ad spend specifically for S&P ads. So we have that all figured out. Obviously, I can't just give the list away, but we have a really good sense, of what works and what doesn't work. And that's the other disadvantage of trying to do this on your own, is that you're competing with some people in the industry that have all that data, right? And so you don't want to go in and just start guessing. You want to start from a point at which you know what's working. And there's always going to be small fluctuations depending on the market, the type of business you're in, the specialization that you have as an S&P artist, the competition in your area. But for the most part, it really comes down to letting the data show you which keywords are most effective.
Today, I want to talk to you about something crucial for your S&P business, where you get your tools. It's not just about having the right tools. It's about getting them from a source you can trust. And that's why I recommend Palms Fashion. Palms Fashion has been serving professionals since 1991, right here in the heart of New York City. As a family-run business, they've built a reputation for providing new and authentic products to licensed professionals around the world. And now, they're taking it a step further by offering scalp micropigmentation supplies so you can get everything you need in one place. They're an official distributor of the biggest names in the industry: Andis, Wall, Babyliss, Stylecraft, Ink You Care, and more. These are the brands we trust to deliver flawless results, and Palms Fashions ensures you're getting genuine products with full warranties, plus S&P supplies you need to keep your business running smoothly. Your tools and supplies are an investment in your craft and your success as an S&P artist. So don't just buy from anywhere. Trust the experts at Palms Fashion. Whether you're in New York City or shopping online at palmsfashioninc.com, they've got everything you need to take your business to the next level. Remember, trust the best, trust Palms Fashion.
This past week, we had the meeting of the minds here in New York, and I had a lot of people coming up to me and just asking me, like, Dave, what are you doing to, on your ads? This is what they're telling me what they're doing. And I told them, I have this thing I like to call it. You have to be the local hero.
I like that.
Local hero. There's so many people, and I was guilty of that as well, right? It's like you want to let the whole world know I do S&P, but the reality of it is, right now in the game, there's the S&P artists all over this. They're spread out all over this country. Mm-hmm. So what you're doing essentially is you're allowing someone in another state become aware of the service. Now they're going to look for an S&P artist that's local to them, right?
Yep.
Now that leads me to my next question, because like I said, I like to call it, you want to capitalize on being the local hometown hero. Why would it be important for S&P artists to focus on local targeting in their Google Ads campaigns, excuse me?
Yeah, in our opinion, local is everything, because from the data that we have, most prospects who are looking for S&P treatment or anything related are not willing to travel too far, unless it's an amazing artist that they heard so many good things about and they're willing to make that drive. Right, there you go, David. That happens, but that's sort of in the minority of situations. In most cases, people are going to be very geo-specific about their search. And that's another good thing when it comes to Google Ads, because you can be very specific in how you're targeting, not only by keywords, but you can layer the targeting that you're doing so that you can target specific keywords, specific intent, and specific locations down to specific zip codes. So we can be hyper local, which means we can spend more money in the places that matter the most. And then as the campaigns run, we can start learning what part of town or what part of the county that you're in are the ones that are not only providing the most leads, but also the most lucrative leads. And then we could spend more in those areas. We could pull back in other areas. Maybe we want to spend more in a part of town where you have more competition or less. So being hyper local is really important, especially because it's not cheap to compete, with other campaigns. And so every single ad click matters, every single ad dollar matters, and we don't want to be spending money, 50 miles down the road when that's not going to turn into a lead.
Yeah, when you got somebody 50 miles down the road who's probably investing $5,000, 10
Right.
grand into, getting that market secured.
Yeah.
Can you explain how budgeting works in Google Ads and how S&P artists can make the most out of a limited ad budget?
Yeah. So, just like you would probably imagine, the better your budget, the larger your budget, the more successful you typically will be. That doesn't necessarily mean if you don't have a large budget, you shouldn't even play. It just means that you need to be more cost effective. You need to be more frugal with every ad dollar if you have a smaller budget. So let's say we take a typical budget of maybe $500 a month that you're going to spend specifically on Google Ads. That comes out to about $16 a day. And let's just hypothetically say that we can get a click, like a high intent targeted click of someone who is searching for something that is directly related to the services you offer. Maybe that costs $4, right? That's on the high end, right? But that's where you could start running into issues if everything is not optimized, because after 4 clicks, you've now exhausted your budget for the day. So don't hold me to those numbers. That's just a quick off the cuff example. And it's going to be determined by so many different factors based on how much you can spend, how much your competitors are spending, how competitive your area is, how much search volume there is in the area that you are working in, how big of a geographic area we're targeting, how optimized your landing page is, how many Google reviews you have, which goes back to that trust factor, how good your before and after photos are. That, again, matters. So budget is important, but you also want to take into account all those other things, which are going to give you an advantage, especially if you have a smaller budget. If you have that smaller budget, but you're working with a professional who can help you in all of those other areas that we just talked about, that's going to make it much more effective than if you were to just throw $500 to Google every month on your own.
What would you say are some of the metrics that S&P artists could use, like if they really wanted to track and gauge the effectiveness on their ads? I know a couple of questions prior, you spoke about making sure that the landing page is optimized, but what else could they go into to make sure, like, okay, you know what, this was in fact a successful campaign for me?
Yeah, that's an important question. That's where you have to get into the numbers. And again, it's something that we look at every single day for our clients. It's something you might not want to look into because it's kind of nerdy. It takes a lot of time to dig into all these different spreadsheets and columns. But the numbers that are most effective to monitor, in our opinion, is the total conversions. So that's basically how many leads are you getting. The second one is the conversion rate. So what percentage of clicks actually convert into a lead? So you have those different stages. So your conversion rate at the ad level would be if I had this many people click on an ad, out of them I had X number that actually submitted a form or call me on the number that's on the page. That's going to determine your conversion rate. And then there's this whole science that we implement called conversion rate optimization, where we work with you to improve or to boost your conversion rate. And then the final number that I think is really important is your cost per conversion, because we could easily boost your conversion rate, but if we're spending $100 to get a lead, it's usually not going to work out. And I'm just throwing that number out there. So the cost per conversion is also something that we want to look at, because we need to make sure that it is in line with what you are eventually going to make when one of those leads converts into a client. So you have to know how much you can spend to acquire a client, because then that's going to determine how much you can invest on the advertising side, because you'll comfortably know, well, for every single client I get, it costs X number of dollars, so I can invest X amount in Google Ads or wherever I want to deploy that advertising capital.
I know you said it's kind of like you gotta want to like nerd out to know these things. And I'll tell you what, guys, listen, I'm one of those artists, businessmen that I want to know absolutely everything. But let me tell you something, all right? When you get that printout and you start reviewing this thing, it can be incredibly overwhelming looking at all
Mhm.
of these charts. So you have to be very careful when you decide that you want to go on this
Yeah.
expedition on your own, let alone when you just decide you want to go with anyone who's telling you that they can create a campaign for you and they're going to review everything at the end of the
Mhm.
month. You want to definitely make sure that you're dealing with someone who knows what the hell they're doing, and they're even
Mhm.
offering to print out all that information for you at the end of the
Right.
month and go over it and break down. Because
Absolutely.
you and I, we've both heard of cases of S&P artists that are like, you ask them these very basic questions like, well, did you review it at the end of the month? Did you get your breakdown? What was working for you? What wasn't? That was like, no, I just
Right.
invested. They told me
It's like a black box.
$1,000,
Throw
yeah,
money in. Yeah.
$1,500, and that
Mhm.
was it. So like this is happening, folks. This is why you want to make sure you do your research and you get with someone who's proficient and they're
Mhm.
vetted. And here we go. That's why we got Nick here.
Right.
This almost feels like it's a sponsorship podcast, and it's not. But it's like, what the fuck? Like, this is it, man. Um, how does Google Ads help with building long-term brand recognition for S&P
Long
artists?
term, yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, because a lot of times when we're thinking about Google Ads, we're thinking about people that are in the moment searching for something, and again, the high intent audience, which is very valuable. We certainly want to focus on that. But the cool thing about Google Ads is that they do a lot more than that. So early on in the discussion, we talked about retargeting and how that can be a great opportunity on Meta or Instagram or Facebook to retarget people that may have visited your website or your landing page but didn't convert. Well, the cool thing is you can do that in the Google ecosystem as well. So there's the Google Display Network. Most people probably know that Google owns YouTube. So you can retarget people on YouTube. It's all part of that advertising ecosystem. So I think the best way to build long-term recognition is to get in front of your audience as much as possible with an important offer, an important message, something that's of value without annoying them, and just reminding them that you're there. Sometimes it takes 7 or 10 touch points of someone seeing your ad or your name or hearing about you in the industry before they end up working with you. That's going to help you build that brand recognition long term. And so we can certainly help with that on the retargeting side by leveraging platforms like Google's display network so that you're not only targeting people that are searching on Google, but you're also retargeting those people who may have not converted that first time.
What is a strategy that you would recommend for maximizing conversions? And I'm not just talking about clicks in an S&P campaign.
A strategy for maximizing conversions, I think, comes down to making sure that every single step in your funnel is optimized, meaning that you've done the keyword research, so you know exactly what you need to target, meaning that when someone clicks on that ad, they're going to an optimized landing page with a great offer, like we talked about. And then when that ad comes in, like that's a whole nother thing. And that's something we covered on the very first podcast that we did, where I think we referred to the whole concept of there being leaks in your funnel, right? And how if you capture a lead, you need to follow up with that lead. It's not enough to just capture the lead, get someone's email address with their permission, of course, and then be done with it and expect them to turn into a client. You need to do some proactive follow up, both manually by calling the lead, but also automatically using things like marketing automation, where you can automatically email someone or send them an SMS if they opt in for SMS messages, so that in a very compliant way, you can follow up with that lead. So that's another part of that funnel. We would call that more of a downstream optimization because it happens after someone has already become a lead, right? They've clicked on the ad, they filled out the form, they've expressed their interest. They want to learn about the pricing or they want to have a consultation, but maybe they didn't book that consultation right then and there. So we need to nurture that lead so that they eventually get booked on your calendar, so that all you have to do as the artist is just sit back, look at your calendar and say, okay, who's next? Who's next? Who's next? And you meet with them and then you do your thing and you convert them into a client.
Outstanding. I like when you said the nurturing, because I had one of the podcasts that I did just on my own, and I was talking about the leads, because we have artists that just genuinely don't know how to handle the leads and don't even know that there's different levels of leads. You know, you got your warm, cold, and what is it? Hot, warm, cold
Right.
levels, right? So when I hear you say nurturing, I'm always thinking, for some reason, when you say like nurturing these leads, it's like literally
I know, it's a little
around
baby. Yeah.
nurturing them, because that's exactly what you got to do.
Yeah.
When it comes to the copy, right, the actual text, the writing of these ads, can you share some of the tips that you have for us artists if we wanted to create an effective ad copy that resonates with our potential S&P clients?
Yeah, definitely you want to try to think like the prospects that you've worked with. And one of the best ways to get into that mind space is to think about the questions that you get asked as an S&P artist from prospects. When someone calls up for the first time, what are some of those top of mind questions, right? Oh, hey, can you handle this type of job? Or, can you do you do scars? Or does it hurt, right? All those questions, that is the prospect telling you this is what they are unsure of and this is what they want answers about. So if you can take those questions and craft it into compelling copy, that's going to be an immediate starting point to give you some ideas. Now, again, we've been doing this for so long, we know what works. So when we build out a campaign for you, it has all the copy that we pretty much know it works, because it's been tested on, at this point, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of campaigns, $1 million of ad spend, 6 years of performance data. So, you sort of just figure out what works after time. A good example would be if someone is searching for a hair transplant, maybe we have the ad itself say something like, stop, don't get a hair transplant, get a cosmetic hair tattoo. Learn more about it here. Then they click on it. They come to a landing page that talks about this is the difference between a hair transplant and a cosmetic hair tattoo. Would you like to get a pricing guide? Fill out this form. They go into a funnel. Now they're going to get some nurtured emails and some SMSs so that they can then get gently nudged along to do a consultation with the artist. And the best of all is all of this happens in the background automatically. And the artist just waits for that consultation to come in, meets with them, and takes it from there. But you're getting someone who's now been educated about the differences and the advantages of S&P. So that's one example. But one other thing I wanted to touch on real quick, because there's so much that's already been said about copywriting. What about the stuff that's not copy specific, but image specific? So something that has been a little bit of a contentious issue that we've noticed is when before and after photos. A lot of before and after photos from S&P artists are kind of rough, right? They're maybe they're it's unfinished work, or maybe the lighting is not good, or maybe there's a lot of redness. You want to have really good before and after photos. You want to have healed professional shots in good lighting with no redness, no unfinished work. And believe it or not, we've actually done A/B tests. We've done tests with great photos, with no photos, with bad photos. And every time, almost every time, the better the before and after photos are, the more leads you're going to get, the better the conversion rate's going to be. So that's something that you might not be thinking about, but it makes a difference. So make sure you're investing in good before and after photos that really highlight the quality of your work.
Two things. One, don't be surprised if you see someone using what you just said. Stop, don't get a
There you go.
use this, right? They're going to use your ad copy that you just said there. And then you said something about A/B test. Can
Testing.
you talk
Yep.
about what is an A/B split testing?
Yeah, so it's a very simple concept of, let's say you can do this at any level. You can test your ad copy, you could test your landing page copy, you could test images, you could test email subject lines, but whatever you do, you're starting with what you have now. So let's say we have that initial ad that says, stop, don't get a hair transplant, get a cosmetic hair tattoo. That's called that's your champion. That's the current baseline of what you're testing against. And then you're going to introduce what's called a challenger, which is a new variant. It's a new idea. So we would want to test that ad copy against something that's new. And we would run it in a way where 50% of our audience sees version A or variant A, and 50% sees variant B. That's where the phrase A/B testing comes in. And then after a while, you can see which one performed better, which one got clicked on more, which one generated more leads. And then that can become the new champion. That's the new piece of copy that is the winner. And then you just keep on doing that on a pretty much an infinite level where you're always testing something new and you're testing it against what previously was your best performing copy. So you can do that with offers. So you could test, get a free pricing guide versus get a brochure versus get $500 off versus book your consultation now versus take an S&P quiz to see if you qualify or if it's right for you. So you can test all different types of things, but we always recommend doing A/B tests because that way you don't have just a stagnant marketing funnel. You have something that's going to continue to evolve and improve over time.
Beautiful. Thank you for clearing that up, brother. How do you see trends evolving in digital advertising for S&P? And are there any new features or tools that S&P artists should be aware of?
Yeah, I would say it really comes down to getting back to the basics. It's so easy to get pulled in all these different directions with AI and with the latest trends. Someone might say, "Oh, don't spend money on Google. Just put it all on TikTok because that's where everybody is." That's more of a tactic, and it might work in the short term, but at the end of the day, you want to go back to the foundations of what good marketing is all about. It's getting in front of someone with the right offer at the right time and trying to get them to take that next step. And so that's what we're all about. We're trying to help S&P artists get in front of the right audience, not just any audience, but the right audience, which is why we love Google Ads, with the right message at the right time in their journey, whether they know what S&P is or they have no clue. We help educate them in that process, and we help get them to the point where they are working one-on-one with that artist in a consultation, whether it's in person or virtual, because we feel that once we get them connected with that S&P artist are good at what they do. They love what they do. They can take it to that next step and turn it into a client. But where we can help is with everything before that. So, yeah, to answer your question, I think it really comes down to just focusing on those essentials and getting really good at them before you go off on, the shiny object syndrome of, oh, look over there, we need to start using AI, or we need to start exploring this new network, this new ad platform that everyone's talking about. Just, stick with what works. It's worked for hundreds of S&P artists throughout the nation. And we're pretty confident that the basics are really where you should start.
What advice would you give to an S&P artist who's feeling a little overwhelmed by the technical side of running Google Ads?
Yeah, it's easy to get overwhelmed. Things are changing so much, even with Google Ads, like just us trying to keep up with what is happening within the Google Ads ecosystem takes a lot of work. And we're always working with folks from Google, figuring out what's new, what's not new. So I think it really just comes down to realizing that as an S&P artist, you probably have enough on your plate already, and you don't have time or desire to also become a Google Ads expert. So that's why, we've tried to step in there and help you with that overwhelm. So if you are feeling overwhelmed, I know we covered a lot of stuff here, so you can either go and try to implement it all yourself, or that's why we're more than happy to work with S&P artists, because this is what we do. This is our bread and butter. Highlead, for those of you who don't know, was founded by an S&P artist. Chris started in the S&P space, and he saw that there were not industry specific advertising opportunities for S&P artists. And that's why he wanted to do this, because he was seeing the overwhelm. And he said, hey, I can do this. I have a background in Google Ads. I can tailor this to this industry that I love so much. So I would say to avoid the overwhelm, it might sound like a sales pitch, but really it comes down to just focusing on what you're good at, and then sort of outsourcing or working with a partner on the things that you don't want to put on your plate. And Google Ads is probably one of them, just based on the hundreds of conversations we have with S&P artists. A lot of times you probably don't want to take this on. So I'm glad, we're educating everyone about it so that you can, if you want to, but just know that there are opportunities out there to work with professionals, so you don't have to do everything.
Look, guys, Nick is being incredibly humble right now, right? Just pick up the damn phone and fucking call Highlead, all right? Do yourself do yourself the favor. That's what you need to do. Call Highlead and they're gonna take care of you guys, all right? Because this shit can get incredibly overwhelming. Not only that, not just the creating the Google ad campaign, guys. Let's be serious. It's the investment, right? If you
Yeah.
dealing with someone who has no idea what the hell they're doing, you're literally flushing money down the.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that because you've already invested anywhere from 3 to 5 grand into your training. Now you got to get your space. That's probably another $10,000 to $15,000 to keep you up and running for the year. And now you want to put money out there into ads. The last thing you want to do is just take something and throw it on a wall and expect it to.
Right.
It's not going to happen, guys. It's just going to stress you out. And as fast as you got into the industry, it's just as fast as you're going to make that exit. So you don't want to mess around when it starts coming to any kind of advertisement. You want to go to someone that knows what they're doing, they're knowledgeable, and that you can trust them. Nick, that is you guys. I know
Thank you.
very humble for that, but I'll do it for you because it might not look good if you did it.
We appreciate that. That's awesome.
Can you explain how Highlead supports S&P artists in managing and optimizing their Google ads to reduce stress and ensure results? Here I am giving you an alley-oop because I knew you were going to be very humbled and I don't want to say bashful, but here I am. I'm giving you an alley-oop, brother. Take it home.
We appreciate that. So yeah, we don't do anything that's cookie cutter. We work with you one-on-one from the initial first discovery call that we have to really learn about your business. Once we start working with you, we do a very extensive build out where we learn even more. We get everything connected. But again, we're also injecting that $1 million worth of industry specific data from day one. So although we are customizing things for you, the huge advantage of working with Highlead versus working with other Google Ads professionals is that in most cases, they're going to have to do a lot of that research that we've already done for 6 years. And they're not going to have that industry specific data that we're just going to pump into your account from day one. So that's a huge advantage. So you're getting the best of both worlds where it's a customized landing page, it's a customized ad campaign. We listen to you, we work with you, but we also come from this place of knowledge in the industry. And it's not just like ideas, but it's actual data. And then we are going to do weekly optimizations. We're going to do custom reporting for you. So you're always in the loop. It's not a black box. We're not running ads through our ad account, which is, again, a huge red flag. If you ever work with anyone or any ad platform, make sure you're doing it through your own ad account so that you own that data and you own that account. And we're always staying up on the latest PPC pay-per-click changes. We're going to all the major expos. We're learning the latest tools and the strategies. We're certified in a whole bunch of different things, including search ads, display ads, retargeting. So that way, you're working with a professional, and combined, hopefully that will let you do what you're best at, and work with clients one-on-one and not have to worry about all that technical stuff.
Nick, before we wrap things up, I want to give you a quick little scenario, right? You're a brand new S&P artist. You got a $10,000 budget. How would you budget your ad campaign, whether it be Google ads, Facebook, or a subscription to Highlead?
Yeah, that's a good question. So 10,000, how would I spend it? I would go back and listen to the first episode that you and I did together, because that's the episode where we talked about Highlead as a software platform. So this episode was all about Google Ads, but Highlead is more than just running Google Ads for you. It is also an all-in-one sales and marketing software platform for the S&P industry. And you need to have that in place first before you start advertising, because remember we talked about that nurture campaign, like following up with people, sending out those emails, sending out SMSs, trying to get people to book on a calendar, being able to manage all of your leads in one place so that nobody falls through. There's no leakage of your marketing funnel. That is the foundational bedrock of what Highlead is. It's an all-in-one sales and marketing platform for S&P artists. And then once you have that in place, we layer on top the Google Ads campaign so that now we're throwing or driving traffic into that funnel. So step one would be go back to that initial episode that we did with you on this podcast, learn about that foundation, get that in place, which of course we can help with. And even if you don't work with us on that, have some type of system, have a CRM, have a way to keep all of your leads organized, have a way of sending emails and SMSs and a way for people to book on your calendar. And once you have that in place, then I would recommend investing, maybe $500 to $1,000 a month in Google Ads, seeing how that goes. I think that's an initial, it's a pretty good budget to start with. And then just sort of seeing what your cost per lead is, going back to all those metrics we talked about, what's your conversion rate, and figuring out how much it actually costs to acquire a customer, and then try to optimize things from that point. How, improve your landing pages, improve your ads, maybe expand your targeting a little bit. But I think it really comes down to having that initial foundation in place.
I didn't expect to have part two to this question, but it just like came to me. Now let's be a little realistic. $10,000 as a budget for ad campaigns, and I was talking about for the year. I didn't elaborate with that. Would you say that that's a good start? And let's be realistic, because and the reason I'm posing this question to you, Nick, is because we have a lot of people in the industry that are in the industry because they've been told this is all you need to get into the industry. With $5,000, this is all you need. You're going to be successful. You're going to make $100,000, and they're leaving out a big portion of it. And this is the ads. How much money would you think is a good start to play the game for a year and at least build some sort of brand awareness and credibility?
Yeah, it's always a tough question to generalize, because there's so many different things that could factor into, because it really comes down to where you're competing. If you're competing in Los Angeles, that is a lot more competitive than if you're in the middle of Nebraska. I don't know if there's any S&P artists in the middle of Nebraska listening to us, but that's probably a good thing, because you probably don't have that much competition, I would imagine. And we've worked with some in very random places in the middle of the country, and you can see like they can get so much more done with a smaller budget. But then if you're in Miami or New York or LA or one of these big cities, it becomes more competitive, and you need to throw more money into the machine. So I don't want to be held to a specific amount, but I will say around $500 a month, I think, is a good initial place to start getting enough data where you can at least make an educated decision within a few months of, what do I need to tweak to figure this thing out? So yeah, I think that's a place to start. And that's the actual ad budget that would go directly to Google. That's not money that you would pay to a consultant.
$3,000. So like after 6 months, you're reevaluating what keywords XYZ worked for me, and then we'll move on to the next one. Okay.
And at the end of the day, it really comes down to how much did it cost to acquire a customer, because that's the magic number. And then how much do you make? What's your lifetime value? Because it's not just that initial treatment that you're doing, right? You can try to figure out what is your lifetime value of a customer, and that's going to help you think a little more clearly about how much you're willing to spend to acquire more customers. Because if you have that number and you say, hey, I can spend X number of dollars to acquire a customer, that's going to help you determine what your advertising budget is. So that's the way to think about it, not the other way around where it's like, I only want to spend $1,000 a month. I only want to spend $500 a month. You really have to figure out from the other end how much it costs to acquire a customer. But if you need a starting point, I would say $500 a month is a place to start.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Nick, before we wrap things up, where can we connect with you and Highlead for Google Ads?
Yes, you can go to gohighlead.com. We have Google Ad Services listed on there in the menu. We have all of our pricing on there. We're very transparent. And the best thing to do is just go to gohighlead.com and book a discovery call with our founder, Chris, who can go into detail specifically with you and your business, and figure out if we would be a good fit. We don't work with everybody. We want to work with S&P artists who are motivated to get results and who are ready to get going. But it's an absolutely free discovery call, and you can get all of that information as well as see pricing and things like that at gohighlead.com.
There you have it, guys. If you want to get in touch with Nick and Highlead, that's where you got to hit them up. Listen, guys. You're in the industry, you already made the investment on yourself, you want to be successful, you need to start looking at the companies that are really doing right by us. And I know that you guys trust me when you're listening, because I do a really good job at vetting. And I wish I could, but I just won't do it because I'm a professional like that. I can show you guys emails and text messages that I get from some of these companies, and they're offering me a lot of money just so that they can come on the podcast and they can try and get into your guys' pockets. But I refuse to take that bait because I don't want to do that to the industry. I don't want to do that to you guys because it's already happening. All right. You got some of these trainers that have already got you. They took your money. They didn't train you. They didn't teach you shit. They just spat you out. And now here you are looking to make some more money. The last thing I want to do is bring someone on here that's going to take advantage of you guys. That being said, Nick, I appreciate you for jumping on the podcast and in such a short notice, because this was just something that I put out there and I was like, you know what? We need this. No one's putting this information out for our community, and has always been in the dark. And I'm kind of like, you know what? I want to put that out there. I want to be that vessel. Let's make it happen. And in less than like 24 hours, Chris got right back to me and was like, Nick said, let's make it happen, but we got to do it ASAP because he's got a lot of shit that's going on. So I appreciate you, brother, for taking up time. I know you guys are super busy over there in Highlead. So thank you.
Well, thank you, David. It's always a pleasure coming on the podcast. We're huge fans of everything we're doing, everything you're doing, and we love that hoodie you got on, Hairline Dealer. Hey. That is awesome. Everyone listening needs to get something like that.
I got one coming your way, brother. You're an honorary
awesome. Member. Love it.
All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Scalp Solutions Podcast. Until the next time, peace.